Hey, I'm Daniel Shemtob. I'm founder of the Lime Truck, TLT Food, Snibs, Hatch Yakitori, and Portal House. If I had a billboard, it would be dream big and work hard. And that's all.
Awesome. TikTok. Let's talk. This is the Miten Shah Show. We've asked the same 7 questions to entrepreneurs from all over the world to figure out what makes us tick. TikTok. Let's talk.
Welcome, Daniel. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
Daniel, if you had to explain what your company does to a 7-year-old, how would you do it?
Sure, it's pretty simple. So I'm a chef, and I own food trucks, restaurants, catering company, and shoes.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel, what got you started on this journey?
You know, it's funny. I was always an entrepreneur. I started my first business, theoretically, my first business when I was 10 years old. And I started my first real business at 16, bought my first property when I was 18, and that was right during the recession. So I lost all my money, but it's been bred into me to be an entrepreneur. The part that was took me a little while, the journey, was finding something I was passionate about. Because I used to think it was money, and really quickly, I mean, at 20 years old, I realized it wasn't money. And so I moved home, started a food truck with my friend, and I mean, the rest is history.
Okay, sweet. Daniel, tell me during this time, what kept you up at night? And what makes you jump out of bed in the morning?
You know what's interesting? I don't stay up at night. Even in my worst case scenarios, I'm so tired. So physically tired from working. You know, when you're on your feet all day, it gets tiring, right?
Yeah.
And so nothing really keeps me up other than sometimes I get really excited with ideas, but no stress. And so even if I'm super stressed out, which my body will tell me sometimes I'm super stressed out, sleep works out well. And then what gets me to jump out of the bed in the morning, I mean, everything. It's all so exciting. I think the idea, for me, being an entrepreneur, the essential fact that makes me so excited is you come up with an idea, that idea turns into something visceral, it's real, it's a business, and then it starts supporting families. People recognize with it, people love and admire the brand, and from something that in your creative mind, you created an ethos and a world around it in the real world, and that part really motivates me.
Okay, it's the creation from the idea all the way to the execution and seeing the reality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Sweet, sweet. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you started this journey?
That's a great question. Everything. You know, EO, I've been in EO for 3 years, and the amount of distance that I traveled as an entrepreneur in wisdom went from maybe 5% to 100% in the last 3 years, and I've been an entrepreneur for 10. So what I would say is entrepreneurs are really good at one thing, whether it's the numbers, whether it's the creative, whether it's the marketing. Typically they have a competitive advantage in one part of it, and they're not well-rounded. And so what I would suggest is maybe to follow EOS, maybe to follow like a system that helps you as an entrepreneur, but becoming more well-rounded and understanding that you might have strengths that are in your business and staying focused on those and really hiring out on the ones who where you don't fall, you know, very strong on.
Right.
So that's probably my biggest advice. Although it's hard to afford a good help when you're growing, I would still look to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. During your journey, you must have made a couple of mistakes. If you can share some of these that others can learn from.
So probably my biggest mistake was expanding too quickly. I did that once. So we went from a business that did 400,000 our first year to 2.6 million our second year, and I was 21. So it was pretty challenging for me to understand that scale, and it was in food trucks, which is also a very challenging business. And so that year, I thought we were doing really well, and when I finally got the end of the year balance statement and P&L, we like net profited like 2%. And wow. So it should have been like we opened a 100-person line every time I opened my front door. And so, you know, that was really challenging, and that was kind of one of the biggest mistakes that I made was like not understanding how to properly scale. And had I done a better job of it, I would have made a lot of money that year. So yeah. I feel like overexpanding without really building a strong foundation. So I just bought out my business partner and all my investors in one of my companies, and right now we had one of our worst quarters this past quarter, but I feel so good about it because I custom built our sales CRM. I hired 3 more people. I hired this guy that was way out of my price league and built a compensation structure that works for him. And now the foundation's set and we're ready to scale, and I think we can go from 5 million to 25 million in the next 3 years.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's something that you'll be really proud and happy about in the future. But in the past, what are some of the moments that you're proud, happy, and content with?
I won a Food Network show
Okay.
It was 2 months of being on the road, competing against 8 different teams, and that was pretty exciting. Opening my first restaurant, that was really exciting. Going to my factory and seeing my pair of shoes, which I just went back, and seeing the response from the market. Like, there's just those moments where you cherish that, something that you're seeing, and like, I think that's been pretty cool. Buying out, I had it wasn't a bad partnership, but I had a challenging partnership, and when I wrote all the checks to the investors and I bought everybody out, that was pretty cool. I mean, I started the company from scratch, and I brought in an older person who had more wisdom, more experience, and I learned a lot, but it wasn't a good working relationship. So being able to like set free from that was pretty cool.
Okay, sweet,
Yeah.
sweet. The Tim Ferriss question. So if you had a billboard and you could put on any message that you want, what would that message be?
What was this at the beginning of that?
It's a Tim Ferriss question.
Oh, okay.
He asks in all his interviews. So if you had a billboard and you could put on any message you want on that billboard, what would that message be?
Dream big, work hard.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, your motto ethos as well.
I think, I think the world is, it's all about exposure. If you believe you can do something, you'll go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and if Elon Musk didn't believe that he would create something so big, he would have never created something so big. And I feel like that's the biggest challenge with, sadly, like poverty, is that you don't get exposed to opportunity. And so once they see it, they can go achieve it. But if they don't see it, then it's hard for them to even understand what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know what it is, how can it motivate you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that I was really fortunate. I grew up in a really wealthy neighborhood, and I didn't have it, so it was accessible to me. It just, I knew I had to go get it. Yeah. And I feel like that's been something that there's a couple charities that are in Los Angeles that do that specifically. They help give exposure to people in low income areas, and I think it's like the coolest idea in the world.
Awesome. Yeah. So following up on that, how has EO made a difference in your community, family, business, or personal life?
So EO has done a few different things for me. I'm very busy, and I took on learning chair this year, so it's pretty crazy that I would accept something so significant. But I believe it's worth it. And so, I mean, EO, like I said earlier, it's made me a well-rounded entrepreneur, which before I was very hyper-creative, hyper-startup, but I was never thinking about all the other elements. Now my business, like I said, it's like the foundation's ready to scale. That's all because of EO. If not, I probably would have been doing the same thing I've been doing for the last 10 years, which is small incremental steps, but it's all based on me and not based on a system. So that was huge. And then, you know, I don't have a girlfriend or a family, so I haven't really experienced that, but I've learned a lot from my forum because I'm the only one who's single, and it's been great. I mean, the connections you build, the wisdom that you gain, the relationships, I mean, I love it. I love EO. Like it's crazy. I'm not like a huge community network person, but like EO makes me so happy.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. From some EO that makes you happy to a Lego, which I assume also will make you happy.
Yeah, you know, I never had Legos growing up.